of the complex issue that's going on with why so many people have difficulty with their weight. So, as always, I advocate you being an advocate for yourself and having accountability for your health. And in doing so, making different choices on how you feed yourself. Because really, I mean, weight loss is more complicated than calories in, calories out, but you have to have good, high quality calories and a good range of percentages of ratios of those in order to have your body function as well as it possibly can and burn the fat that you've stored. So it's such a complex subject. I don't even know where to start. Let's talk about, I had a friend over last night and we cooked from scratch. Actually, it was steak and onions with organic, it was grass-fed steak, organic onions, potatoes and artichokes dipped in butter, right? And so that's a high calorie meal. It's got a lot of fat in it. The potatoes were small, I'll have to say. They were definitely less than a third. They're about a quarter of the plate, which is a good way to figure out how much of the different percentages you're eating. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And we were laughing because she was saying that, you know, she's a nurse, she works at night on the night shift, and she's just so exhausted all the time. And she's the person that actually helped introduce me 10 years ago to all of this gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free, hypoallergenic, you know, making smoothies, you know, green smoothies and green juices 10 years ago, right? And so she knows the importance of food, and yet she hasn't been able to put it into her schedule to really make it a priority. And so we cooked last night and she was just like, I need to do this for myself more often. And I pointed to the kitchen and I was like, but look, you know, it's just totally blown up. I mean, there's dishes everywhere from, you know, we also made lemon bars from the lemon tree outside for dessert. So, you know, we cooked and baked and had a pretty big mess. But that's just something that you have to, you know, acknowledge. And it's so much easier to eat something out of a box or microwave something in, you know, the microwave and call it good because it's, you know, lean cuisine or smart choice or something asinine like that. Those are things that you never want to eat. There are alternatives that you can do that take, you know, less time or an equal amount of time, but also, I mean, get off your iPad and your phone and actually cook yourself dinner and then clean up, and you've done yourself a service because housework actually counts as calorie burning, right? And you've fed yourself some good quality food. I want you to ask yourself what you want to be made out of, because we build our body out of the foods that we put in our mouth. Do you want to be made out of Costco cupcakes that aren't even close to being real food? Or do you want to be made out of a good organic grass-fed steak and vegetables and green things that are going to make your body stronger and more resilient? Healthy fats is a huge aspect of that as well. But fish are so toxic, usually you have to supplement to get adequate amounts of that. But that's besides the point. Everybody knows how much I love good, clean, high quality triglyceride form fish oils. So what do you want to be made out of? Do you want to be made out of plastic and, you know, GMOs that we don't even know what the long-term effects on health will be, that are covered in pesticides? Or do you want to be made out of things that are vital and things that are real? And that's a choice you have to make. And it's going to benefit you in the long run, because a lot of the additives that are in processed foods are inflammatory, and inflammation is one of the key drivers of weight gain. Now, why do people gain back more weight than they lose in the first place? Well, it's because usually fad diets and, you know, like Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig and all of that, or even calorie restrictions, you know, they set your body up to be even more imbalanced than it was in the first place. And so when you've when you're done restricting your calories to 500 a day, your hormone levels have shifted to become even more problematic in the long run. And so what we want to do is we want to address all of these different pieces and hit it from all sides, which is the philosophy that we have at Naturopathic-MD. We don't want to just do one thing and think it's going to change everything. It's like a pill for every ill. There is no pill that you can take once a day that is going to give you ultimate happiness and health and vitality and have you live to 150. That is not going to happen. You have to look at the system as a whole, and that's holistic medicine. Next week, actually, we're going to have or not next week because I'm traveling for 2 weeks, but after that, on the 15th of March, I'm going to have a panel of doctors on that are going to talk about the mental, emotional, spiritual aspects of health. And that's a piece that I think that you should listen to after this if you are interested, because there is a huge mental emotional component to weight, and the stress that comes from that and how we protect ourselves or how we see ourselves. And so that would be a great companion to listen to after this one, if you're not time traveling, or if you are. Those of you listening live are going to have to wait for a little bit. So let's talk about food percentages. We want to eat whole foods, stay away from processed foods. You want low glycemic foods. One of the things that you can do to start changing your blood sugar is avoid grains, avoid wheat, corn, rice, potatoes too, right? And when you're at a good weight, you can add in some potatoes. But if you want to lose weight, you do need to do caloric restriction at some point. Now let's do a review of anatomy and physiology as far as why blood sugars increase weight gain. When your body has too much sugar, you lose the ability for your insulin receptors to recognize insulin, and that's called insulin resistance. You downregulate the number of insulin receptors that you have because your cells are like, we don't need any more sugar. We don't need any. We already have too much. And so they close the doors that are available to get the sugar in. Then your blood sugars go up in your blood rather than your cells, and it starts shifting into storage for fat cells because your insulin goes up, 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 trying to decrease the blood sugar, because sugar is like broken glass going through your blood vessels. It damages everything. That's why diabetics go blind and have amputations and kidney failure and, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, as well as an increased risk of cancer. 40% of cancers are tied to obesity. So if you want to decrease your cancer risk, let's make a concerted effect or desire to lower your blood sugars. And you know what spikes your blood sugars? Fake sugar, which is mind-blowing to me because there's zero reason to ever eat them then. If they raise your insulin and they raise your blood sugars, that's nuts. And they're also poison, so don't eat them. There's no point. They're associated with just as much diabetes and just as much obesity and just as much heart disease and cardiovascular disease as regular sugar, plus they're super toxic. So don't eat them. Get rid of them now. And everything in your body will be happier about that, including your nerves and your microbiome, because they also function. Some of them function as pesticides and change your immune system and your gut health. I'm off that soapbox. So, now I've lost my train of thought. This is just my abstract random brain lecturing about things that I'm passionate about. And then, I get off track. So no sugars or low sugars. And when you eat carbohydrates, they're complex carbohydrates, but it's like smoking a cigarette with a longer filter, right? It might take a little bit longer to hit your system, but not that much longer. If you chew a saltine cracker or a piece of bread in your mouth for long enough, it'll taste like you took a teaspoon of sugar and just slammed it in your mouth. We are really, really, really good at breaking down carbs. So if you want to lose weight, don't eat them. Let's talk about your plate. At least 2/3 of your plate when you eat should be low glycemic vegetables. It's Great. It increases fiber, which means that you don't absorb as much cholesterol in your gut. It helps keep your microbiome happy and healthy. It's got a lot of nutrients and bioflavonoids to make your cells work better and lower inflammation. And the studies show that the more vegetables you eat, the healthier you are. One of my favorite things is get those big $5 boxes of organic microgreens or baby greens at the store, and you just eat them all day. The more servings of vegetables you eat, the better. Kale, zucchini. You want to definitely get zucchini organic because it's a GMO organism that most people don't know about. That's why I don't eat it at restaurants. Artichokes, Swiss chard, collard greens. Fry them up in butter. That's fine. Butter is a high heat oil, and that's not what's going to make you fat. It's the carbohydrates, because they ratchet up your blood sugar and they make it almost impossible for you to lose weight. And then have good, lean, high quality protein making up the rest of it. So if you eat vegetables and protein enough for dinner, then your system is going to recalibrate like a thermostat. Lunchtime, also, you don't want to do a lot of carbs, because that's where we get our afternoon slump. You eat a lot of carbohydrates, your insulin shoots up, your blood sugar shoots up, and then you crash. So, forget about pasta. Believe me, that kills me, because I'm I'm an Italian girl at heart. And, but pasta is something that is just empty calories that's getting thrown into your system. And when you have leftover calories that you're not burning because you're sitting at a desk job, then goes into fat. And it's also highly inflammatory. Breakfast, for my favorite breakfast, because I'm one of those people that I don't have time for this and I don't have time for that, and I do all of these other things, and I have had to wrestle myself into submission, making myself a priority, because it's very easy to take care of everybody else and let yourself go by the wayside. I do a protein shake in the morning with my Thorne Metaclear. It's a rice and pea-based protein, and it's got detoxification factors in it. They do have chocolate and they have vanilla, which is nice because there's good variety. And I put that in a little unsweetened almond milk, throw in some, blueberries, raspberries, or cherries that are all organic, a handful of spinach, and sometimes I throw in chia seeds, and sometimes I throw in turmeric. Just depends on if I'm feeling saucy or not. You put it in the magic bullet, and you have the best breakfast you could possibly have, easy and quick. Otherwise, I eat eggs and bacon, so I alternate. Depends on whether I have time to cook or not. But notice I don't eat a lot of breakfast potatoes or toast or jelly or donuts. I mean, I love my coffee, and I used to, my day used to be started with a venti dark roast with light cream and 3 raw sugars, and that was it. And that's how I powered through my day. And maybe I'd eat lunch, and then I'd eat it at dinner, and I would do it all over again. And my body started to rebel because I wasn't getting protein in the morning. But if you go into Starbucks and see what they have to eat, like cake pops, and believe me, I know that they've been engineered to be delicious. Those pumpkin muffins with that what's supposed to be cream cheese filling, which I'm not totally sold on. But all of those things are it's like diabetes waiting to happen, especially if you spike your blood sugars first thing in the morning. One of the issues that I had to deal with was hair loss. I used to have, 3 times as much hair as I have now. I'm still rebuilding it. You can see the little wispies as it grows in, because nobody's perfect, and that's why it's the Bad Girl's Guide to Living Well. And yes, this is a coffee, and I may or may not have had my protein this morning in as high a dose as I really should have, but that'll come later. I'll just tell you I'm doing intermittent fasting. Anyway, the things that you can eat for breakfast: pancakes, French toast, danishes, donuts, all of those set you up for failure later on in the day. They ratchet up your blood sugar first thing in the morning. They raise your cortisol levels and your inflammation, and you've started out in a rough place. So get your protein in the morning. I don't care if it's bacon. I don't care if it's eggs, as long as you tolerate them well. Salad in the morning is one of the best things on earth that you could possibly do. It's just talk about superhero achievements. That's why I throw spinach in my smoothies. But the smoothies are a great way to get you dialed in first thing in the morning with a good bolus of protein and have it be low glycemic. You're not spiking your blood sugars. You're going to be full. Throw a little, oil in there, even like coconut oil, and it just helps keep you feeling full into lunch so that you don't need to snack on the candies on your, cubicle neighbor's desk, right? We don't need that. You need to make choices as far as what you're going to spend your calories on. And cheap chocolate shouldn't be one of them. Creme brulee, maybe, right? So choose what you want to really, put in your body and have it be with moderation. I don't eat carbohydrates, and people sometimes look at me, they're like, well, you put sugar in your coffee, or how are you eating that dessert right now and not feeling guilty about it? Well, it's because I don't really regularly eat bread or pasta or corn or potatoes or those other, tortillas and things that are just empty calories. I would rather spend those calories on something like creme brulee or Rocky Road ice cream. And those are the choices that I make. And my weight is stable. And so something must be working, right? But what are the other aspects of this? We've talked a lot about diet. You want good, lean, high quality proteins, a lot of vegetables, stay away from the carbohydrates, stay away from fake sugars. Sodas, throw them out. Don't drink them. Goodbye. Zevia is a good choice. They're pretty good stevia flavor or sweetened soda. But you don't want to drink too many of them. Plus, they're in aluminum cans. And so that's a little treat that you can have. And if you're going to start detoxing yourself off soda like a crack addict, then they're a good way to, wean yourself off and still have that nice bubbly. So that is how I would recommend to eat. You want to stay away from the high glycemic things like dates, pineapple, mangoes, bananas. Forget it. You don't need a banana. A banana is like a banana split when you're fighting blood sugar. And this will take a while for you to get your blood sugars back under control. But if you do it well, then you will succeed. And that's going to be a good first step. Exercise, we've talked about it extensively. But cardiovascular disease or cardiovascular exercise, like going out and running like a crazy person on a treadmill for 30 minutes or doing a spin class, or those things that get your heart rate up and your cortisol goes crazy and your endorphins are high, those are good for people who are maintaining their weight. It's not always great for losing weight because it changes your hormones, and you want to do weight training. Order yourself some kettlebells or some bands on Amazon and do weight training. Get yourself a personal trainer that wants to do weight training, because when you train those big muscles, if you get down right now and do push-ups until you can't push up anymore, then what that means is you have completely reset all of those muscles for their sensitivity to insulin. So work those big groups. Do your squats before bed. It's great. Upregulates hormone, growth hormone for repair, improves your sleep, resets your body's sensitivity to insulin, and thereby helps lower your blood sugar. Do push-ups, do planks, do heel raises and calf raises while you're brushing your teeth. Move like that, and it's going to make a really big difference. So we're about to take a break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about inflammation, hormones, and sleep, as well as toxicity and microbiome and digestion to round this all out so that we can finish up how we're going to address your weight loss concerns from every angle possible. So we'll be right back.
Do you remember the last time you felt healthy and energetic? What would you do if you could regain your health and feel good again? Enjoy spending time with your family? Take a trip. Get back to being active and doing the things that you love. Naturopathic-MD can help because we practice natural, functional, logical medicine. Have you ever cut yourself and taken a prescription to stop the bleeding, but the cut stayed open? No, because your body can heal itself. Cuts are usually easy to heal, but chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and digestive problems need the expert support we can provide. Are you ready to take action and get your life back? Sign up for one of our elite concierge programs today.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about microbiome, which is the beneficial bacteria and organisms that live in your body. Again, this is the Bad Girl's Guide to Living Well. My name is Dr. Heather Dowling, and we're talking about weight loss. Or optimal weight loss, so you don't gain it all back and then feel like your life is a complete exercise in futility. And why do you even go to the gym in the first place when it doesn't work and it's the most frustrating thing that you've ever experienced in your whole life? That's what we're trying to address right now. And so, did you know that they did a study where they force-fed rats? Of course, you know, I love all of this animal testing. That's sarcasm. But anyway, they force-fed rats and they made them obese. And they took the bacteria from the rat poop for the fat rats and they gave it to healthy, normal weight rats. And the normal weight rats became obese. Wow, right? So you do not function independently and autonomously. There are so many other factors at work here. And so you definitely want to address your microbiome. And that's why vegetables are so good and certain fruits that are low glycemic, because they help the healthy bacteria grow. Exercise also helps promote a really healthy or healthier microbiome. And in doing so, you support every aspect of your body, period. And so that's something that you can do. Exercise, diet, right? Why do they work for everything? Well, because they support the healthy processes of your body. You can also do probiotics in order to help repopulate your gut in a beneficial way. Candida and overactive yeast growth in your gut can also make you want to crave carbohydrates. And that is one of the big downfalls. A lot of people stress eat, and in doing so, they're trying to make their brain feel better and try to feel calmer. And that is probably one of the biggest issues that I help support, because finding different ways to manage your emotional stress or the way that you feel or your depression are big things to support your success in this. When you crave carbohydrates at night, often that is because carbohydrates push your serotonin pathway. And in doing that, it helps you get ready to sleep. But also, serotonin is one of the neurotransmitters needed for, your brain to feel good and have a good, mental outlook. Serotonin, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors are a major class of antidepressants. And so if you're eating carbs, you're trying to falsely increase your serotonin in your brain. Now, I'm probably going to get put on a hit list for this, but I had pizza the other night and I was eating with a friend and they said, "Why is pizza so delicious?" And I mean, pizza is obviously delicious, and I'm going to be blacklisted by the Italians now and the New Yorkers. Not a good place to be. But why is pizza so delicious? Well, it's got wheat, dairy, and nightshades all wrapped up, which are three major inflammatory, food groups that are pinging off your dopamine and your opioid receptors in your brain, and they're causing inflammation, and they make everything feel irritable and aroused, and it's addictive. And that, I think, is a big reason why pizza is so delicious, besides the fact that it's, delicious. But there is a definite aspect of what happens neurochemically and in inflammatory pathways that make it addictive and have people crave it. And those are just three of the major, inflammatory foods. And inflammation is a huge driver of obesity. I had a client who, I think he probably had, 23% body weight, big man, muscular, worked out. We put him on a low inflammatory diet and he lost 20 pounds in 3 weeks because it was inflammatory weight. It was amazing because he avoided his food allergies. And we had no idea he had that much weight to lose. And so if you eat something and you gain 2 pounds overnight, you're sensitive to it. So stop eating it. And that inflammatory process that aids in the deposition of weight, whether it's inflammatory weight, water weight, that's going to reset itself over time as well. And so that's why food sensitivities are a huge piece of the weight problem, because a lot of people keep eating things that they're sensitive to and they don't even know. And it's making it more difficult for them to lose weight. And having an improper microbiome is also highly inflammatory. So not only do yeast make you crave carbohydrates because that's what they want to eat and they're dialed into your system, so we have to kill the yeast by not eating sugar, and then there's other supplements that you can take that'll kick them out of your guts too, and your brain will work better and everything will work better. But also getting your microbiome through probiotics and diet is an exercise is going to help take away that piece to make everything lighter. So we've got the diet blood sugar piece. We talked about the inflammatory piece. You can read or listen to a podcast on food sensitivities and the LCAT testing. And if you want to really do a concerted effort for weight loss and you are having issues with it, get that test. It'll change your life. It was one of the big things that changed mine. And mine was more inflammatory pain and things like that. But when you lower inflammation by changing what you're putting into your body, then, everything gets better. So we talked about blood sugars, inflammation. Now let's talk about toxicants, because this is a big thing. I never want you to microwave anything in plastic again. There are toxicants in the environment that are called obesogens. Now, that means that they promote obesity and they cross the placenta. And so we are having an epidemic of children getting, type 2 diabetes that was an older person's lifestyle disease early. Well, why? Because they're eating sugar, cereals, which, oh my God, cereal? Honestly, confession time. I miss cereal more than just about anything else. And I don't eat it anymore because it's like a diabetes food. It just spikes your blood sugar, and you have it with, milk, and there's another, allergen. And if you do low fat milk, then you're just spiking it with more sugar. And, low fat things are crap. Don't do it. What that means is they've taken out the fat and they've added sugar so it doesn't taste like ass. And it's spiking your blood sugars. And fat is actually a healthy thing. It's better for you than carbohydrates when you're getting the right kind of fats. Okay, so I miss cereal. I don't eat it anymore. And it's one of the big things, that and sodas in children, that are promoting type 2 diabetes young. But also you have the toxins in the environment that promote obesity. And a big group of those are estrogenic-like compounds, phthalates, those things in plastics, BPA, some heavy metals do it. There's a whole bunch of different pesticides and insecticides, herbicides that can promote it as well. Plus they change the microbiome, which then promote obesity in another way. And that's why you can't just take one piece of this complex problem and do it and think that it's going to solve everything or be successful. It's not. You need to hit it from all of the different angles. And that's what we're trying to do today. So, educate you on how to try to do it today. So don't microwave things in plastic because that puts phthalates and other chemicals into your food. You eat them and then you have a hormonal response. Detoxification is a huge aspect of weight loss because you're removing a lot of those toxins from the body and removing a burden that you are overcoming hormonally, inflammatory wise, microbiome wise. And that's why we offer a detox on Naturopathic-MD. If you contact us for a month, that makes huge changes in your body all around. Now, let's talk about hormones. I can tell by where you carry your weight which hormones are out of balance. Thyroid disease, we did a whole episode on thyroid disease, and I really recommend you listening to it because people's thyroids are failing across the country. It's now the #1 most prescribed drug in the United States. It passed statin drugs because people's thyroids are failing. And we talk a lot about why that is, but your thyroid hormone regulates your metabolism. Next time you get your labs done by your conventional doctor, I want you to look at your TSH. The range usually goes from about 0.45 to 4.5. If you're over 2, I know it's struggling and we need to look a little bit deeper into why and support it so that your metabolism can work better. So thyroid weight is just kind of all over. Estrogen weight is in the hips and the butt and the thighs. And it's what makes women, sexy and beautiful, but it also promotes that weight in those areas. Now, if you have mostly belly weight up front, that's insulin resistance. So like the pot bellies that we see on older men, and I put a picture up for the event today on Contact Talk Radio, and that's all insulin resistance there. But also cortisol acts there as well. And high cortisol is something that increases your cancer risk, but it also raises your blood sugars, and you've got that side belly weight. And so a combination of blood sugar and stress, that stress weight goes for that. It's called centripetal adiposity, or weight being carried around your abdomen. And it's the most dangerous kind of weight to carry for cardiovascular disease. And so those hormones being out of balance, I can see, and nobody's perfect, right? Like everybody has a little bit of imbalance, most likely. And we can see it when we look at people's bodies. And so it's not just cut and dry which one is out of balance, but by balancing those hormones, that can bring great success in helping support weight loss. Things like hydroxycut are supposed to lower cortisol, but their major ingredient is caffeine in most of them, and that raises cortisol. So once you stop taking that caffeine, your cortisol levels are higher than they were, and so you gain all that weight back because you made your system more out of balance. Does that make sense? And so that's why we don't want to just do fad things where we, take a pill for every ill and think that it's going to fix everything. It doesn't. It's not necessarily easy. You have to make the decision to change for your greater good and the people that you love and that love you. I should say that one of the other big things that people make the mistake of is too much calorie restriction. You don't want to restrict your calories too much and then exercise like a beast, because your body will think it's starving and it'll hold the weight on. And so you want to get good, reasonable calories in. I would recommend, 800 to 1,000 calories a day if you're not working out. If you are working out, then it has to go up a little bit more. But remember, light weight training or weight training that is just making your muscles grow and reset to insulin isn't going to get your heart rate up. So that whole fat burn stuff it's really not true as far as getting your heart rate up, because your hormones are going up as well, which can be good, and you do want a balance of them, but you need the weight training. If I don't make anything more clear with the exercise, then let it be that. Because weight training and exercise, with, getting your cardio, that will help you sleep and it'll help you poop. But that's the other big piece that we need to look at. If you are not sleeping well, it is impossible to lose weight. impossible. You can't do it. So you have to sleep well. We've talked a lot about sleep. Sleep is like heaven when you get good sleep and you wake up feeling refreshed. And I want you to think about the last time you woke up in the morning, you're like, I feel great. Let's get on with this day. So let's talk about sleep. What are some sleep hacks? Well, get off your screens, turn off your devices, get the TV out of your bedroom. It's one of the worst things that you can do. Take it out of your kids' rooms. I mean, you're setting them up for failure if they're watching TV before they go to bed. The light from the screens looks like daylight. And if you think about, I went to Alaska in the summer a couple of years ago, and we would stay up until 11 o'clock at night and be wide awake because it was light. And that's what day cycles do. They tell us to be awake. And so if you're looking at night at a screen that's telling your brain to be awake, that's a big reason why you are having trouble sleeping. So get those sexy blue blocker glasses. I'll put some links up for you on the Facebook pages so that you can just go to Amazon and buy them. And if you want to be on the screen late, then wear them and, Instagram it and tag me, because, I think they're not the most stylish thing, but that's okay because no one's going to see them unless you share it on social media. And it'll be a big, big supportive action that you can do to help with your melatonin production and be able to fall asleep better. Get the TV out of the bedroom. Don't work in the bedroom. Don't do anything but sleep and get it on in the bedroom. By doing that, you are making a sacred space in a way, or a space that your body will recognize as, oh, it's night time. I need to go to bed because I'm in this room. It's not a multitasking time. It's not a, place for doing anything but sleep and sexy time. So make that a priority. If you're going to watch TV, do it in another room with your blue blockers on. Don't put it in the bedroom. It's one of the most unhealthy things that you can do. Get a good nighttime routine. Do it the same every night so that pattern gets your body in a habit of getting ready for sleep. Do body weight squats until you can't anymore before you go to bed. That's pretty simple. It's working the biggest muscle group in your body, your hamstrings and your glutes. And that's going to increase your growth hormone. It's going to reset your blood sugar, and it's going to help you sleep better and deeper. And even if you just do 15 or 20 and get into bed, good on you. One of my favorite things to do, as you all know, is the hot bath, Epsom salt bath at night. And that's because it helps relax and lower your cortisol, but also magnesium is absorbed through the skin from Epsom salt baths. And that helps you to relax and go to sleep. So those are some good ways to get better sleep in your environment that you can start doing today. Now, if those don't work, a lot of women going through perimenopause and menopause have a terrible time sleeping. And that's one of the big reasons why weight gain happens around that time, along with the imbalance in hormones. I have 3 different levels of sleep support packets for sale on Naturopathic-MD. If you need sleep help every now and then, go with level 1. If you need it more aggressive, go with 2. If you are a pre-menopausal or menopausal woman, then 3 is the one for you, but you want to contact us first so we can make sure that it's what you need. Now, hormones being out of balance cause night sweats and hot flashes, anxiety, and that's the way that level tier 3 sleep support supports those hormone cascades, so that piece at least is off your plate and you're going through it in a more balanced way. But anxiety is another really big issue as far as why people can't sleep, and stress and the cortisol curve. So if your cortisol is up at night, it makes it almost impossible to sleep. And so you need to get that cortisol down. So you can meditate for that. You can take certain supplementation to help lower your cortisol at night. And I think there's a study that I've mentioned quite a bit before about how if you take a sleep aid called a hypnotic, and this isn't like herbal or melatonin, but this is Benadryl, alcohol, Ambien, Lunesta, Tylenol PM, booze, like those things that drug your brain into sleeping. If you do it more than 17 times a year, you might as well be smoking a pack a day of cigarettes, because your cancer risk is going to be the same. And I think that's because of cortisol. Those drugs are drugging your brain into sleep because your cortisol levels are high at night. Cortisol paralyzes the immune system like cortisone would. It's anti-inflammatory in that way. But what's your immune system supposed to do when you're sleeping? Go around and find cancer cells. So if your brain is knocked out, but your cortisol levels are still high, then that's a huge reason why you're not getting good quality sleep, but also increasing your cancer risk, because your immune system can't crawl around and destroy cancer cells while you sleep. And so that's why we want to do a more in-depth exploration of why you can't sleep. Is it stress? Is it hormone changes? Is it because you have extra calories that you haven't burned off? And or is it because you've got blue light from your iPad when you're playing Clash of Clans all night that's telling your body to be awake? And so you have to be a little bit of a medical detective or a sleuth and figure out what are those issues that are making it more difficult for you to sleep. Because if you're not sleeping, can't lose weight, can't do it. And so that's another big piece. So we talked about the microbiome. We talked about keeping that in balance with blood sugars and prediabetes and insulin resistance, and how to change that with your diet. There's also a lot of supplementation that you can do. And probably my favorite, so metformin is a first-line drug for diabetes because it makes insulin receptors work better, or it makes it stuff the sugar from the blood into the cells, even though it doesn't need more sugar in the cells because they have enough. Metformin helps lower blood sugars, and it's used for type 2 diabetes. Berberine is an alternative to metformin, and it's also really good for the gut. And I have a great formula that has alpha lipoic acid in it as well, which is good for the nerves, that can help support and protect against diabetic neuropathy. But alpha lipoic acid is also really good to help with the pancreatic function and making sure that your pancreas doesn't crap out because you're pumping out so much insulin. And that's why a lot of type 2 diabetics become insulin dependent diabetics, because their pancreas is just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. I can't make any more insulin in order to stuff this sugar back into the cells. You know what else kills pancreatic beta islet cells? Bleached white flour. Now, the beta cells in the pancreas are what make insulin. And so there is a compound in bleached white flour, wheat flour, that preferentially kills those cells. And so it's a double whammy as far as not only spiking your blood sugar, but also killing your pancreas's ability to manage said blood sugar. No white bread. Get unbleached. There's plenty of options. Gluten is a whole other topic that I'm not going to talk about, but let's just talk about those grains and not eating them if you want to continue losing weight. So we talked about obesogens and the microbiome and hormones and sleep. A great supplement for blood sugar is berberine, but also there's supplementation to help you sleep and lower your cortisol levels. And that's in the step 2 sleep packs that you can get on Naturopathic-MD. Now, let's talk about an uncomfortable topic, which is accountability. One of my mentors, I guess I can't really swear on this, but he would say that accountability is a real MTHFR. And that's because so many of us are weak there. And some of that comes from trying to manage your brain chemistry and feeling like, I was in a store yesterday, and there was a picture of 2, 5'10", 100-pound models in stilettos eating a 7-tier ice cream cake, saying, "You deserve everything." And okay, I think that people are deserving. I think that everybody is a beautiful creation of the universe and does deserve to be here, but I don't think that everybody deserves to eat 7-layer cakes just because they want to. And there's an entitlement in our culture that is astounding. Our culture is desperately ill. It's probably the most ill one on the whole planet. But I just want you to think about, like, what do you deserve? Do I think you deserve the best? 100%. Do I think you deserve to be happy and healthy and enjoy your life and be able to live your life in whatever way that you choose to? Basically, yes, as long as you don't hurt others or the environment. I guess I am a little bit of a libertarian at heart, right? Libertarian Green Party, maybe? Do those guys even mix? But you have to also have accountability. There are reactions to your actions. And if you eat, whatever the heck you want, and there's going to be repercussions to that. But if you change it, then yes, you can eat those things sometimes and enjoy them. And you are deserving of love and happiness and all of that. But you also need accountability. And this is one of the big keys to success in any weight loss program, and that is having someone hold you accountable. Doing food diaries and journals and becoming part of a community is extremely supportive, as long as you're not, surrounded by a whole bunch of negative Nancys. And remember, there are a lot of people that will try to sabotage you. They will tell you, oh, you shouldn't lose weight, but then they're looking in the mirror and they know that they probably should be doing things for their health as well. There's also a lot of medications that can promote obesity and weight gain, and that's a dangerous thing as well. And I don't have time to talk about that right now, but that is another piece. And so getting help to support those issues, like antidepressants, are a big one, right? And so you need help to get off of those, and that's why we're here. So this has been Dr. Heather Dowan with my weight loss life hacks with the Bad Girl's Guide to Living Well. You can visit us on Instagram at Naturopathic-MD and our Facebook page, Naturopathic-MD and the Bad Girl's Guide to Living Well. I'll see you in March.
You've been listening to